Welcome, everybody. This is Richard Kuhns, author of How to Get Your Life Back from Morgellons, chronic Lyme, and other skin parasites. And what brought me to write anything about Morgellons and become into this field has nothing to do except with a lot of damn suffering. I was exposed to, as I relate in chapter 1 of the book, pulling a vine from a pine tree in my backyard. And that vine was a little different than other vines in that along with it was a cloud of dust that descended upon me. I thought little of it. Did a little more yard work, went in, took a shower, and thought that to be the end. 4 days later, to the very second, well, maybe 2 seconds, my significant other and I were visiting my mother at her place. And we both started itching like crazy. We couldn't stand itching. It drove us nuts. We had no idea what to do. The only thing that popped in our mind was to jump in a bathtub, and we did that. We took turns. We jumped in the bathtub, scalding hot water to get a little bit of relief. That was the beginning of my trip, which is probably very much like most of the people who have joined this call in one way, shape, or another. You may not have had, well, I doubt that you had a cloud of dust descend upon you, but, well, you may have sat in a salon chair. You may have picked these organisms up in your yard. You might have fallen into your rose bushes. You might have slept on somebody's couch. You might have tried on some clothing in a store. You might have took a ride in flown in an airplane, sat in a seat there. You might have sat on a toilet at Universal in California Universal Studios. That was the beginning of my trek. Something of that nature may have been the beginning of your trek. It may have been from a backed up sewer in your home that this all started. Well, my significant other was a nurse in the local hospital in the critical care division. She had the benefit of knowing and being familiar with all the good doctors that were there, and set up an appointment to be given things like the Quell lotion or Lindane, things of that nature, and everything worked for a few days, and then it didn't work any longer. So along came another dozen or so different physicians, and we tried sulfa drugs and biopsies, and they all came back negative. And it was a nightmare, 24/7, 3 scalding baths a day to keep things at bay. And I never in my dreams thought, it got to the point where I thought nothing would ever work. I got the, Avon has this stuff, I forget what it's called, you put on your body to drive away bugs. I tried the DEET and all that stuff, and nothing made a difference. It was pure hell. So a couple of years later, after my significant other and I had separated, a friend of mine had suggested the idea of it being diet connected. Diet. I thought it a crazy idea, but hey, I tried everything else. What the heck? Couldn't harm. And having been operator of a stress management clinic, a biofeedback center for years, and we did stress management counseling, and oftentimes Nutrition is involved. And I had read books about hypoglycemia, the sugar blues, and all this stuff. And I knew how that food can be a significant actor, and we can have allergies. And I knew a way to figure that out was to do an elimination diet. So I decided to do my elimination diet in reverse. Instead of just removing one food and seeing if that made a difference, I removed all foods except eggs. I have no idea why I chose eggs. Maybe it was breakfast time when I decided to do this and figured, well, I'll just have eggs and see what the heck. Eggs with no butter. Now, there's nothing magic about eggs. In fact, some people can't even have eggs. But there are many foods on the diet, and you can pick any one you want. Many people, you can start, if you even have a question about whether a diet is going to be of any value, just fast. Eat nothing. Drink only water for a couple of days. If you go more than 3 days, you've got to do this under a doctor's care, because it can kill you if you do a fast and not know how to do it. I think it's called ketosis. It can kill you. Or you can go to the butcher, get a beef bone, or get chicken bones, bring it home, put in some water, cook it, and have beef broth. Add in some vegetables like celery, no carrots, celery and onions perhaps, and try it. You will notice what I did, and that is after I ate only the eggs, I had little if any activity on my skin, little if any itching. And I thought, well, that's interesting. It's pretty nice. It's good to have a little bit of relief. So then I added butter to the eggs. So for a couple of days, it was nothing but eggs and butter, and I was doing good. My mother had also contracted these organisms along the way, and so we were experimenting together. So we added in corn chips. Bad news. 20 minutes later, boom, crazy, nuts. So we knew there was some credence. There are some things that we can eat and some things that we can't eat. And over the course of 2 years, through keeping an in-depth diary, I discovered the things that I could eat and be free of any reactions, and the things that, oh man, if you want to eat something and have an instant reaction, just eat a can of tuna in oil or sardines in oil. Boom! Almost instantly, they are upon you and drive you nuts, really. So now, why did it take 2 years to figure this stupid diet out? Well, not stupid. It's really the most powerful diet in the world in terms of dealing with these organisms. And why it took 2 years? Because after you are on this diet, say if you only ate eggs for 2 or 3 days or 4 days, you could be totally symptom-free. And then if you ate something that is a problem, it's explained in chapter 4, it's a delayed response. In fact, many people often think they're cured. I mean, the diet is that powerful. They often think they're cured. And then after a week or so, they will go crazy having desserts and things like this. And you know what? They get away with it. Happened to me many times. I got away with it. No problem. I could eat cake. I could eat anything I wanted, and no problem. But within a period of time, up to 7 days, boom, it's like all hell breaks loose. So there's the delayed response. So I discovered along the way the diet has 3 stages. Let's make this a little more interesting. Not just one stage. One stage is very, very strict. It's in chapter 4. Stage 2, we can add things like bananas and green apples and walnuts and some cheeses a little later on. And stage 3, where I've been for a few years, you can eat anything you want within reason. I can even have sardines and oil and have no problem today, but not every day. Maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks I could do something of that nature. So the diet is important. The diet is the crux of this program. It is free. All of the information I share with you is free. The blog is free with all the updates and things that I've learned. And so I published the diet on the internet, and believe me, people used to pay me $19.95 for this diet. And it's all free now, all free. And I wrote the first book in 2006 called Soothing the Itch Within and the Diet to Control It. Soothing the itch within and the diet to control it. The next time, I brought the diet to the table. And along the way, learned about some other things. And then, as I said earlier in my early remarks before the recording started, each of you are, in a sense, my research team. And as you each got better and you learned from other sources, you shared them with me, whether it was, and people still do this, they share research that they run upon, and I look it over, and I add it to the book. And as you improve and discover things and share it with me, I add it to the book. I put out blog posts about it because nobody should have to suffer any longer from these things than they have to. Absolutely. So here we are with the program that we do every Sunday to provide you an opportunity because, okay, go to Amazon. The people who are new, go to Amazon, look up Morgellons books. You will find how to get your life back from Morgellons and other skin parasites. There are 244 reviews, 4.4 star. So this isn't something that you just get overnight. The other book there is Dr. Saverly, the Morgellons, the legitimization of a disease. She has far less reviews. And if you go down and read the reviews, now the first one is a 2-star review. If you go there, please, if you read that review and you read my book, you'll say, this person did not read his book because everything that's stated in that review is not in the book. So if you do, go there, do me a favor and report it because it's misinformation, and we've had years of that. Okay, so getting back, the diet is the crux of the program. Now, I also discovered that having these organisms, I was a walking, talking, breeding machine. They were breeding within me, within my skin, systemically in my body. So what this means is that everywhere I went, I was shedding them. They were jumping off of me. And guess what? They didn't jump off and die. No, they jumped off and thrived. So that meant even while I was getting my life back with the diet, if I went in an area where they were accumulating and thriving, they jumped back on me and I thrived. And I was reinfected. So early on, I discovered the importance of disinfecting your surroundings. So far, we talked about the diet. Now, the FDA requires me to inform everybody on this call that none of what I say or have written has been evaluated by the FDA. That costs millions of dollars, far beyond my budget. The FDA also requires me to tell you that before you start the King diet, before you accept any of our recommendations, that you are to thoroughly discuss them with your medical doctor to make sure they do not interfere with any health problems you're presently experiencing. The AMA and FDA also require me to tell you that we are not medical doctors. We are not trained to diagnose you. So it's illegal for us to diagnose you or claim that we can cure you, treat you, or mitigate any disease. What we can do is educate you. And that's the purpose of my book and my calls and all the information that's available to you on the internet. So it can educate you how to utilize the King diet. So I don't know how it works. I think it has to do with uptake of dopamine, as some of as our herbal parasite stop formula is in that direction. But bottom line is, it seems to put them to sleep. It doesn't destroy them. It seems to put them to sleep or into a trance, so that they are no longer active. Now, the next step is the bathing and the cleaning. And I shared years ago, it was about jumping in a tub of near scalding temperature for 45, 50 minutes to get them off of me. Since then, we've discovered the nature's gift, debriding soap, which can be used in warm water and cleans them out of your body, and that's discussed in chapter 3. And then the third thing, so to get your life back, it's about doing 3 important things simultaneously. Like, number 1, make the diet work. Number 2, and we have a video on the diet, just the diet by itself and the nuances of it and how to make it work. So if you haven't made it work, look at that YouTube video. Number 2 is bathing and cleaning the skin, because by the time many people get me, they have had this horrendous disease for 20 years or longer. Now, what disease am I talking about? Well, it's not even recognized as a disease. What are my credentials really? Well, I'm a chemical engineer. A chemical engineer has I have a unique ability to problem solve. That's what I did as an engineer. I solved problems in production. If they had trouble getting a chemical plant to produce what it was supposed to do, I had to figure out why, and that was my job. When I was in stress management, I was in problem solving, helping people problem solve their problems in life, their relationships, their confusions, and here solving problems and getting our lives back. And during this experience, I have dealt personally with Morgellons. I've dealt with Columbella, springtail, snow fleas. I've dealt with skin fungus. I've dealt with Strongyloides cervicalis and chronic Lyme disease, to the point I thought my life was over. So that is my credentials. And there are many people that have dealt with these diseases but are not where I am, and that is free of them. 99.9% free. So that's my credentials. Now, disinfecting. Everywhere you go, you've dropped them. They jump off of you. Now, if it's springtails, they spring off of you. They can spring onto other people that are in your vicinity. People often say, well, I don't even like to go out and be with people, because whenever I'm around somebody, I see them itching all the time. And they're very self-conscious because they have a feeling that it's coming from them because they're itching. And why is this other person suddenly itching? Well, these organisms jump off of us. They can jump as far as about 18 inches. So keep that in mind. They jump. Now, Morgellons has filaments and fibers that can also be released from your skin, either by scraping, wind currents, who knows what, and float in the air and affect somebody else, or be deposited on a seat or a chair or a toilet or anywhere around. And part of disinfecting sometimes is using good air filtration, because many people tell me, well, they can see them in the wind currents. You see, with Morgellons, the filaments and fibers can be very tiny, basically microscopic. 60 power scope is sometimes necessary to see these fine filaments. So obviously, a little wind current can take them with them. So air filtration would be something that you would want to do. You don't need an expensive air filtration system. Anything with the micron type filter is going to be sufficient. And then remember to clean it. On occasion, when you do clean it, disinfect it. So that's number one, air filtration. Now, number two, in terms of disinfecting your surroundings, is there is a substance that is really underused in many ways, and that is diatomaceous earth. We have it in 2-pound bags in our store. 2-pound bag goes a long way. Make sure it's food grade. Now, diatomaceous earth can be used two ways. One, you can slightly dust it in your area. Avoid breathing it because it's not friendly to your lungs. So you don't want to be breathing it. You don't want to be using some duster and have all your air dusted up and then be breathing it. No, that's not good. In fact, with diatomaceous earth, you can take a empty spray bottle, a 32-ounce, 24-ounce spray bottle, and you can put in about 3 tablespoons of diatomaceous earth. Shake it up. Put in water, shake it up, and put on a fine spray, a fine mist, and you can spray that way. So you can spray around your walls. I mean, we can do this with bed bugs as well. You can spray around your walls, around your floors, wherever. So dust the area with the funny thing in my book is I discovered that ladybugs have a desire to eat these organisms like springtails. So I bought a whole bunch of ladybugs, and I think about the same time I wasn't thinking was dusting with diatomaceous earth, and within a couple of days I didn't see any ladybugs anywhere. So I probably defeated myself with the ladybugs and the diatomaceous earth. You can go to Tractor Supply and pick up about a 20-pound bag for about $20. Very economical. So, but 2 pounds goes a long way. And the other application, if you look in our blog post, and even if you look back in our videos, you can use diatomaceous earth internally. So you take a teaspoon and stir it up in a glass of water, and you drink it to help clean out the intestinal parasites. In fact, it's part of my protocol for cleaning out intestinal parasites. But I'm not getting into the protocol here because this is about disinfecting your surroundings. And there is a video already published about how to use DE as both for internal use, and actually more detail about environmental use as well. So DE, use it, dust it, spray it. Avoid overspraying, because when you spray it, it's wet. You won't see it. But if you spray more than 2 or 3 sprays in the same location, when it dries, it's going to be caked white. It'll be a lot more DE on there than on that surface than you necessarily need or really want. Now, for me, ammonia was the trick. Just spraying ammonia in the environment. Spray my furniture. Now, here's the thing. It's important to think ahead. Having these organisms is like learning a new job. And it's important to think ahead of them. So if you get up in the morning, before you take your shower or your bath, because you're in this program, you're going to be starting with bathing 3 times a day. Before you start the bath, you take the spray bottle and you go to the kitchen and you spray the breakfast nook around the area that you're going to be seated, or the table, at the kitchen table or dining room table, you spray around the area. 20 minutes before you're going to be using it, because it takes about that long for the fumes to dissipate. Now remember, it's the fumes that does the destruction to these organisms. It's the fumes that interfere with their neurological ability to continue living. So you spray the chairs. Now remember, when you're seated at a chair, all the way down to your feet, you want to look around 18 inches where they could be. So that means the chair legs, the back of the chair legs, even under the chair, you want to spray, all right? So, and of course, the back of the chair. Now, the table, all right? Under the table, they can jump up from your knees and land under the table and stay there. So you're going to spray everywhere they could have jumped from you the last time you were there, all right? So your bedding, all right, that's a whole nother thing. We need to do our bedding daily, in the beginning, that is, until you get things rolling. So washing your clothing, for me, in ammonia, a cup of ammonia was sufficient. Now, they are also in your dryer. So don't think in terms of, okay, I disinfected the clothes in the washing machine, I'm just going to stick them in the dryer and everything's fine. No. They still may be in your dryer from the last time. So you need to, with each load, is have something like a towel, something absorbent that you can pour a third of a cup or a half a cup of ammonia onto it. You can even add some peppermint, a few drops of peppermint, a dropper full of peppermint to that, and then dry to disinfect your dryer. Now, that doesn't solve everybody's problems. It solves my problems, but it doesn't solve everybody's problems. Some people have more resistant organisms. Mites, for instance. Oh, I left that out. I also dealt with mites. Now, there are 40,000 different species of mites according to Britannica. And there are a few of them, bird mites, rat mites, that seem to be prolific and love to reside in our skin. Now, of course, the only mite that the doctors recognize living in your skin is scabies. All right, they say the other mites are just a minor no-see-ums and things like that. They're just a minor inconsequence, and you shower them off, and well, that doesn't seem to track with a lot of people. So they're in our skin as well. So disinfecting the bedding can be a little more complicated. The more complicated is you use a tote. You get one of these big totes about maybe 2 feet long and about 12, 13 inches wide or 14 inches, about maybe a foot or so deep. And in the bottom of the tote, you put in some empty egg cartons, plastic, not the cardboard ones, but the plastic. You pour some ammonia in the bottom, about maybe an inch of ammonia. You put your clothing on top of that, and you close the lid and let it sit in there for a few hours. Again, remember, it's the fumes that do the job. Then you put them in the washing machine. You can use enzymes or clean them up enzymes. Now, if you're using enzymes, don't use anything else with them except maybe our laundry soap. I just did an update about our laundry soap. People find it amazing. So then you transfer it into your dryer. Now, some people have to go an extra mile, and when they take the stuff out of the dryer, they wear gloves, because maybe their hands have problems right now and are infected with these organisms, and so they put them in zipper-lock bags. Thick zipper-lock bags, and maybe even put some menthol crystals in to continue the process of making sure nothing stays alive in there. So disinfecting the laundry is important. Now, the bedding, it's important to use like a zipper vinyl not cloth, a zipper vinyl heavy cover for your mattress and your springs, so that nothing can get in and nothing can get out. And when you put the zipper vinyl cover on your box springs and your mattress, throw in some methyl crystals again, to keep any, to may as well destroy anything that's in there, and keep it that way. Put your pillow in a one of these vinyl zipper covers, and likewise treat it. So disinfecting is important. Now, when you would spray, I would spray my mattress, so it would be the zipper vinyl cover. I would spray that, then put the mattress cover on, spray that, then put the sheet on, spray that, then put the top sheet on, spray that, and then put the cover on. So it's a process, Fortunately for me, ammonia did the trick, and it has for many people. Now, your automobile, it requires being disinfected. Now, first thing, and I learned this from one of our coaches that helped us out a couple of years ago, is that your internal ventilation system has what is called a cabin filter. So I don't know why you call it cabin filter, but it's a filter. So you need to go on YouTube and find out where the cabin filter is in your particular model car. For many people, I'm told it's behind the glove box. So you want to pull out that the old cabin filter, throw it away, put in a new one, and remember that it's most likely infected. So you're going to want to use gloves or something and spray it before you pull it out to destroy any organisms that are on it. Now, for me, simply spraying the console, again, sit in the car and look at where your legs are, look at where your hands are, look at where your arms are, and then look 18 inches everywhere around you. This is all the area that you're going to be dealing with. And you're going to want to spray under the seat, on the console, between the seats, the door, under the dashboard. You're going to be spraying everything. The ceiling, the area. You're going to spray the whole area. It doesn't take a lot of time if you know where you're going with the spray bottle, and you're pretty well done. But you need to cover all the areas. That 20 minutes before you get in the car. Again, remember, think ahead. So before you sit, you already sprayed the breakfast nook and the table. All right, and before you sit down to eat, you go out in the car. If it's 5 degrees, you do it anyway. You go out and you spray the car because you're going to be leaving in about 20 minutes. So after you leave, then you go to the car and it's already sprayed, and the fumes have already dissipated, and you're off and running for the day. Workspace. Workspace is a little more challenging because maybe you're working in an office area and people don't like the smell of ammonia. So that can get a little complicated. So you can take the ammonia and do it at the end of the day when you're leaving, but I don't know how you're going to get there 20 minutes before and do it. That's a bit challenging. So that means you need a little creativity. When you figure out how you did it, you can send me an email and tell me how you did it, and I'll pass it along to other people because we don't know all of the answers, although I will get to how you can do it very effectively. Now, so far, we've talked about ammonia as a go-to disinfectant. It's inexpensive. It's, I don't know, $3 for a gallon now. It used to be $2.50. I haven't bought a gallon of ammonia in a couple of years, but I'm guessing that inflation has gotten it up a little bit. But still, very, very inexpensive. Now, upping our game. Now, like I said, there are over 40,000 different species of mites, and some of them more resistant than others. Some of them are airborne. Many are not. An assumption many people make is that they think bird mites are airborne. Bird mites are not airborne. They crawl. They're little black things and crawl, just like rat mites and other animal type of mites. So upping the game means to realize that maybe ammonia isn't necessarily doing the trick. So Robin, my co-host, who is going to join us a little later on when she gets back from doing one of her engagements, she's a musician, can share some of her experiences in dealing with resistant mites. So over the course of years, I would not say that I haven't, you get reinfected. That's the reality. These organisms are in the environment. So you can get reinfected either by abusing the diet over and over. That'll bring them back. Or you can simply go into an environment and be reinfected. I have a pond with some small fish. They used to be bigger, but we have raccoons, and our raccoons have gotten to be rather prolific at fishing, and or break into the pond. Next to my pond is a swing that I enjoy sitting at, and it seems that the raccoons sit under my swing to either plot and plan their attack on my pond or eat the fish. Well, I did the wire fencing, and that seemed to work, and then it didn't work, and I put on netting, and that's working. But every time the raccoons come back, they seem to be depositing these organisms. So I need to be careful. If there was a period of time when the fence was working and I used, so we're going to go over some of the different disinfectants. Robin introduced me to the neem oil, fungicide 3 that you pick up at Lowe's or Home Depot, and you can attach it to a sprayer. I mean, you can attach it to your hose and spray, and that works perfectly. But it seems they're back out almost every day now. So I actually, a good thing to do if you're dealing with springtails and they're out in the environment and you know that, hey, get a pair of riding boots. They come up about 18 inches, and it's rare that they're going to jump higher than that. So if I go out there now until they get done with their experiment in stupidity, because they're not going to get in the pond, but they try all the time until they get it through their heads, they're not going to get in. I'm wearing riding boots when I go out there. Simple. But if you know you're in an area that you can be affected, then you definitely want to apply some creams and lotions, many that we have in our store, immediately. And instead of it being a full-blown reinfection, it's just a little blip in your life. So fungicide 3 is a great disinfectant to use outdoors. You can spray it indoors as well through a sprayer. If you read the book, there's what is called the triple pesticide. You can get that through Do Your Own Pest Control or DoMyOwnPestControl.com. It's a combination of 3 different IGR, Onslaught, and Exponent. And it tells you how to mix them together and mix it up. You only mix enough for one day, and you spray that in the area. It's not supposed to be toxic, but I'd suggest wearing rubber gloves. Like glyphosate is not supposed to be toxic, but all of a sudden we have billions and billions of dollars of money set aside by Monsanto from people suffering from different forms of cancer that's been linked to it. So always wear rubber gloves when you're using this stuff. You can use it indoor, you can use it outdoors as well, but that's a step up from ammonia. Now, other step up from ammonia are, we have them in our store. We have a thyme-based, organic, it's called Disinfect. So you can put this in your spray bottle. Now, this being organic, you can actually spray areas where you have food. It's thyme. You can actually spray your food. Not that I'm saying you go do that, but it's thyme. Thyme. We have one called Mediclean. Now, Mediclean is a chemical disinfectant. Now, the Benefect comes ready to use, so you don't dilute it. The Mediclean gets diluted, 8 parts water to 1 part Mediclean. So it is quite a bit more economical in that regard, but it's chemical. You do not spray it around food areas, all right? Or where your skin is going to touch, like bedding. So you're not going to spray your bed with it, and you're not going to spray in areas of food with it. So there are 2 steps up in the game. Now, some people actually find that ozone is important to use. So you get the picture. If you try one and it's not really working, then up your game. If you try that and you need to still up your game, you up your game. So we hope that ammonia is sufficient, but if, for instance, you don't like the smell of ammonia, it's neurotoxin, you don't want it on your skin, you don't want to take baths in it. If you fill out my questionnaire, it's a question, do you use it on your skin? Do you use it in the bath? And believe me, I've gotten a couple people that said they have. Do not, because it's a neurotoxin. You'll go bonkers using ammonia on your skin repeatedly. So if ammonia is a problem, then you go to the thyme Benefect, which is organic and non-toxic to you. Okay, so it's upping your game. The triple pesticide, you go to that, try that. So it's a matter of experimenting to see what works for you. And in the course of the years that I've been reinfected from time to time, I've had to up my game a bit. All right, so ozone. Ozone, you need a machine like we have in the store that produces about 7,000 milligrams an hour. It's good for about 500 square feet. So a bedroom 12 by 12 is 144 square feet, just for reference. If you have a big room, it might be 40 by 30, then you might need 2 units for that room. And it's a little more cumbersome, a little more problematic in scheduling, because you've got to seal off the area, you got to close the doors and the windows, and you have to vacate, and no animals in the room or birds while you're ozoning. So you run the ozone generator for a half hour, comes with a timer. It is off for an hour, on for a half hour, off for an hour, on for a half hour, and then you can come back. So you get the picture. You got 2.5 hours that this space is not being used. You can't be in it. You can't be breathing this stuff for 2.5 hours. So you've got to schedule it in. So it's not the most easy to use thing. Now, let's also remember when we're looking at the house, we have underneath the house, we have basements, we have crawl spaces, we have air ducts and air conditioning areas. So you need to assess. See, people have, you either brought these organisms into your house, like I did, from dust falling on from a tree, and infected my house, or your house infected you, backed up sewer, leaky roof, and a lot of mold and problems. Now, springtails like moisture. They like the areas of pipes, around pipes and things of that nature. So anywhere you have moisture that's either condensing or leaking, you want to deal with, because that's a source of where they are going to like to be. Now, it's important to recognize that we need to be dealing with both Morgellons and springtails. How do I know this? Well, not only from personal experience, but in all the, I don't know, a couple thousand questionnaires that people have sent in to me over the years, I find that 90% of the people who send in the questionnaires have both things that are going on that are indicative of springtails and Morgellons. So 90%. So if you have these skin parasites, err on the side of caution and assume that springtails are involved. You can test it. You can get glue boards. A glue board is nothing but a white board that has some adhesive on it. You can set it up and they will jump onto it, and you can see that you have infestation of springtails because they're very difficult to see. They are 300 microns in size. That's the size of a dust particle. If you look at the God rays coming through a window, you'll see dust particles floating. Well, that's the size of a springtail. And when they are on your skin, you can't really see them. They're not like black dots on your skin or black rods. You just, in fact, a study done by the National Pedullosis Society in 2002, where they took 21 people diagnosed with delusions of parasites and took scrapings from the lesions, they found that 19 out of 22, I might be a number or two off, but all the numbers are cited in the book, had springtails. And what they also found is that the microscopy, the person doing the microscopy had to be really experienced to see them, because even with microscopy, they can be overlooked unless you know exactly what you're looking for. So it's assumed basically that all of us, or 90% of us, we may as well assume all of us, are dealing with springtails as well. So you want to be looking for the damp spots, the moldy areas, and dealing with that, and putting in ventilation systems in the basement and so forth. I simply put in a bathroom fan, and I put a timer on it, and every hour it runs for 15 or 20 minutes. I forget what to suck it. It's also good to get rid of radon that might be accumulating in your basement area as well. So it's a good thing to have any area that is below ventilated. Get that stale air out, move that air to diminish the area of the mold and organisms there, and get it drier. I do have an area in the corner of the basement where mold seems to grow just on its own. I put a fan there, and the fan, it's a small, tiny fan. It doesn't use much, but just a little air circulation keeps it from growing there. So you need to basically look everywhere below your living and take care of that. There are some cases where it can't be fixed, and you need to move. You need to find another location. So you either clean your house, or if you're sick, if your house is sick, you need to move. So we're moving up now in our game. Ozone. Remember, we're also looking at your ductwork. So if you can have professionals come in and clean the ductwork. That's a good idea for a starter. It may definitely solve the problem and get them out of the ductwork. I would take it a step further. I would set up the ozone generator at the intake. Now, you want to do as many intakes at the same time because they're all going through the same system, and clean the ductwork with ozone. Now, upping the game is to the electrostatic sprayer. The electrostatic sprayer, Remember, I mentioned the fact that some of these organisms are airborne. Well, years ago, I saw a video, and I was really confused because these people, were going to all extent. They found it necessary. Like me, in dealing with my organisms, I only had to spray my bedding, my furniture, my automobile. That was pretty much it. They were mopping down the walls and the ceilings, and I was confused. We often think that our organisms are what everybody else has, and don't take into account that there are many different organisms that can have this similar impact on us. Until a lady a few years ago said she had moved into a motel because the home that she was renting was infested, and she had to get out, and she moved into the motel with her 3 children. And of course, she brought them with us, and she described the air, that she could see them in the air. Well, it was just about this time that I had learned about the electrostatic sprayer. That about maybe 4 years ago, a couple of years before COVID started. She was one of the first persons I suggested the electrostatic sprayer to. What does the electrostatic sprayer do? It's a sprayer, but what it does is it puts out a very fine mist. But it goes one step further. It puts an electronic charge on that mist. So I believe that everything in the environment, let me say, I'm going to guess, is negatively charged. It really doesn't matter. What this does is it puts a positive charge on the particles. So everything, including the organisms flying in space, are negatively charged. And this fine mist comes out positively charged. Well, you know what magnets do? A positive magnet next to a negative magnet, like that. Well, that's exactly what the electrostatic sprayer does. Puts a charge on these fine particles, and boom, anything that's in the environment that this spray comes in contact with, boom. It's like shooting it down with 1,000,000 drones. That's how powerful this is. Now, say for instance, a problem that I had once I got reinfected one time was getting them out of my couch, the recliner. They were in the footrest. For 3 months, I could not sit in that footrest without becoming reinfected. Of course, I knew what it was, and I'd use some cream or whatever to get over it, but they were there. I sprayed the top of the footrest. I sprayed the bottom of the footrest with a regular sprayer. Okay? This is before I knew of the electrostatic sprayer. Now, then one day, I looked at the footrest differently. I don't know why. We talk about this when we come to stress management. Now, one of the reasons we're here is we know that everything doesn't go smoothly for you. No matter what I tell you, you're going to follow and you're going to fall off a cliff here. And it's not working the way he said it was. So this is why you come here, to ask the questions and take advantage of my experience and Robin's experience and Mary's experience and whoever else may be on the call. So I looked at the footrest and I realized the footrest had ends. Where the cloth is tufted in the end of the footrest, that's where they were. And spraying on the top and spraying on the bottom was of no value, no use. So because they were there, was not possible. So when I started spraying the ends of the footrest, boom. Now, I would not have had that problem had I used an electrostatic sprayer. I don't have to be smart enough to figure that out, because the spray, all it has to be is in the vicinity. Now, realize I have not talked about foggers. I will not talk about foggers except to say they're a waste of money and time. because they do not put a charge on the fog. But the electrostatic sprayer puts a charge on it. So all you got to do is, say for instance, you sprayed the front of a doorknob. Just, stand a few feet away, spray towards the door. If you spray with a regular sprayer, you go to the doorknob, it's going to be wet in the front, but going to be dry in the back. You do this with an electrostatic sprayer, and it's wet all around it, including the thing that goes through the door. All gets wet because that spray is immediately attracted to the opposite charge in the environment. So that is upping the game to the nth degree. It will knock them out of the environment. You can spray your walls, your ceiling. You don't need to use the mop and disinfectant and spoil your paint and move your paintings and stuff. Boom. And in fact, in a typical house at 3,000 feet or more, you can probably do most of the house within 5 minutes. And it holds about a quart, and that's about enough to go through the house basically and use it up.